it's your furry professor, Kyra, and I just thought of something that could be really helpful for con goers, and that is just what exactly could be very helpful to bring to your hotel that could be beneficial for your con experience. I, of course, with all the videos I've just done, like, you gotta tell, I was just an Anthrocon, and I drive to Anthrocon, so I'm able to bring more than somebody who might be flying, but I feel like I can still share some tips about some items that could be very helpful to have in your hotel, regardless of, you know, if you're flying or not. If you are driving, be very, like, smart about what you're bringing because you have the room to do so. I highly recommend, if you are driving, to bring a box fan or like any small little fan to the con, because it will make drying your suits so much easier when you're not wearing them. Especially if you're a multi-suiter, you can have one drying while you're wearing another one, so this one's dry and ready for you. I highly recommend, and I have one, and I probably should show it in a video. I'm looking at it right now. It's hanging on my door. There is, and you can get them on Amazon, they have dryer fans that are super, super helpful. They're for scuba suits, but they work just as good for body suits. I have a full body suit, not for a Kyra, for one of my other suits, and after a long day of wearing the suit at the con, it gets very wet and sweaty and gross. That helps dry it and just keep it kind of not super gross and wet for the con. Fans are your best friend, and it's absolutely amazing. Something that I and my friends had to deal with personally at this particular Anthrocon was a very humid room. We could not get the humidity out of our room. If you've been to Anthrocon before, Pennsylvania has unforgiving weather, and it was so humid. Like, the room was cool, but the humidity would not go. If you're able, again, if you're driving, bring yourself a small dehumidifier. It's going to really help. It's going to get that wetness out of the air that is probably just there because of the season, but also, like, if you have sweaty suits, it's just going to make the room very musty, and the dehumidifier is going to help. I did not bring one this year, but I definitely am going to remember to bring one next year, because it definitely would help the room and, like, the smell, probably. But yeah. Something that I also recommend is have on hand, and I did a video of this stuff like forever ago, but have like fabric disinfectant on hand, because it doesn't hurt to spray it throughout the con, since, you know, you're not going to have the access to clean your suit probably, unless you want to use the hotel shower. That's up to you. I'm not going to tell you what you can or can't do. The fabric disinfectants are really nice because they're going to kill germs as well as make your suit smell good. Something else, bring snacks. Very light snacks. Again, this is if you're driving. I know it's hard when you're flying. We're going to get to some flying stuff. Snacks are nice to have when you're coming back from a long day of suiting. Having a little snack before you go and get food or whatever, it's really helpful. I usually do. I make sure I have snacks on hand. I'm usually the one in my group that's driving, so I will ask my group before I start heading out, hey, what do you guys want me to get from the store? Because I'll bring like a cooler, I'll bring, you know, snacks, whatever, just to kind of make the con experience a little better for everybody. I also obviously want to talk about some stuff for if you're flying, because I know it can be very hard to bring those kinds of objects, but something for either that I've noticed, make sure you have enough clothes. I know that sounds weird, but I'm serious, especially for when you're suiting. Highly recommend the Under Armours, the athletic clothes underneath for when you're suiting. The heat gear, you know, that sort of stuff. Bring as much of that as possible. You're probably not going to have access to a washing machine unless you have some bougie hotel, or you want to use the hotel shower to your advantage. You're not going to have access to really clean your laundry, so make sure you have enough of that, because that is going to be the quickest way to make your suit stink and you stink. You know, no matter how many showers you get, that clothes are going to, and those clothes are going to be wet your entire time you're there. Which then I recommend bringing bags to put your dirty clothes in, because I have never smelled more foul clothes than what I take off from fursuiting. It's so nasty. So make sure you have plenty of clothes. If you think that, oh, maybe I'm bringing too much, no, you're never bringing too much. Make sure you have enough stuff for when you're suiting. I always say to bring water, or, you know, stop at like, there's a Target, especially like Anthrocon, they have a Target that's like not too far from like the main hotels, and pick up some essentials like case of water. You can get your snacks there. That's why it's kind of nice, like, to have access to stores very close to your hotels for these cons, because you can get all this stuff, and you don't have to take it with you, especially like food, because you could eat it or toss it or whatever. But that's some of the stuff that I have like immediately thought of with the last con that I was just at. It's very helpful to have, you know, those kinds of things. If you have any tips or suggestions for things to have in your hotel room during cons, please, by all means, share them, because I feel like it's always helpful to share some helpful ways that everyone can have a cool con experience, especially in the hotels. So, yeah.